Fana has the best AoE damage in Black Clover Mobile, but with the correct gear and stats, you can make her even better. So the first gear set we're going to be looking to is going to be the Ominous gear set, as on a 2-set bonus, it's going to give us the 7% in attack and magic attack increase, and then we'll be using the Ominous Whip and then the Ominous Crystal, as they can give a magic attack's main stat increase. Then the second gear set we're going to go with is going to be Secret of the Deep Sea, as we'll see later on in Fana's kit, you'll see that speed is going to be relatively needed for her, as there's something to do with her amount of health that she actually has. So for this, we're going to be going for the Conch of the Deep Sea, as well as the Essence of the Deep Sea, so we can get that 2-set bonus of a 5% increased speed buff, which is actually a lot bigger than you might think. And then with this, Fana should then be a lot quicker than some of the at least most of the DPS characters in this game that aren't running their speed set, which is going to be really, really handy. And then just like the Ominous gear set, we're running the Essence of the Deep Sea and the Conch of the Deep Sea, so we can get the magic attack main stat. So onto some of her other gear sets, as the speed set and the attack set are really probably the two main gear sets you're probably going to want on her, and the rest are kind of always interchangeable, as the very first gear set we're going to look at is going to be the Pitch Black Sight gear set, as basically Fana's whole kit is to do with life stealing and also burning. So the 2-set life stealing is going to be actually probably relatively helpful, as when you unlock her unique passive, which I'll get onto much later in the video, you'll be able to see that this is going to be actually quite useful, as basically the 2-set bonus of this is going to grant you HP recovery equal to 10% of your own max HP upon defeating an enemy. And because she's an AoE damage specialist, she's going to be defeating quite a few enemies, to be honest, which means she's going to be able to recover a bunch of HP. But this set can be quite difficult to obtain for some people, so we have some other gear sets as well. As you can never actually go wrong with stuff like Noble's Inheritance, as Resolute Judge, as all of the crit stats and crit bonuses that you're going to get from these are just going to be absolutely fantastic, as the Noble's Inheritance is going to give a 5% extra crit rate bonus on the 2-set, and then Resolute Judge will give an extra 7% crit damage as well. And then for all these 3 gear sets, starting off with Resolute Judge, you're going to want Judge's Crossbow and Judge's Seal. Then for Noble's Inheritance, it's going to be the Noble's Robe, and then the Noble's Orb. And then for the Pitch Black Sight gear set, you're going to want the Goblet of Darkness, and then the Lantern of and also the Lantern of Darkness, as once again, as I've mentioned before, these are the 2 gear pieces where you can get the magic attack main stat. And this is because Fana's main sort of offensive stats are going to be her magic attack, as she has 11,879 magic attack, but only has 3,959 regular attack, so you're going to really want to gear her towards her magic attack stat. So I've gone over main stats, as you're going to want magic attack for all of those main stats, but what about her substats? So of course she's also going to then want, because we're going to want magic attack on her main stats, we're also going to want it on her substats, as literally anything to do with magic attack would be great, as well as actually regular attack, as we'll get into a kit later on. You'll see that also regular attack stats can actually be quite useful for her, so any of those would be fantastic, as well as just any other crit stat is going to be completely fine. So next up we have talents, and starting off with her attack talents, we're going to go for the increased magic attack, as like I said before, her main stats are all to do with her magic attack, so we're going to want to stack that as much as we possibly can, and with this extra 7% magic attack, we're going to do exactly that. And then we're going to be pairing it with Battle Frenzy to get that extra 2.5% increased crit rate, as this is going to be fantastic for gear farming, allowing her to crit even more. And then as always, defense talents, which is going to be the 20% increased defense buff, and then the endurance defense buff, so you can get the defense of 4% and then crit resistance of 2% at the start of every wave. So then of course for the support talents, we're going to be going for swiftness, as we can get as many special points as possible, so she can spam her AoE ultimates. And then we're actually always going to be going for the HP recovery receive buff, as because she works off of lifesteal, you're going to want to be able to lifesteal as much as you possibly can, so you want to be able to receive as much HP as you can. So then another big part of her whole build and her whole kit is going to be her skill pages, as obviously her best skill page is going to be Scorching Grudge, as the passive skill of this is going to give her a 10% all attack increase, and then on her skill 2 Salamander's Whim, it will then add a 65% chance to inflict burn on an enemy, dealing continuous damage. But you're not really there to burn them too much, you're kind of there mostly for the all attack bonus. So another skill page that's going to give a bunch of all attack bonuses is going to be the Lion's Spirit one, as it can grant up to a 15% all attack buff. Then I'd probably say some of the other grey ones can be Respectable Rival. Then obviously Chief's Appearance is great for extra crit damage. You've got the Captain's Dignity for extra crit rate. You've got Sea Serpent's Pride for extra crit rate as well. And then you could then also go for Condemning Light if you really do need that crit rate, and you can also get some attack stats off of it. And then of course, as always, Breath of Darkness is going to be a fantastic skill page for her, as of course she wants all attack bonuses, so this will be perfectly fine for her, as well as Mysterious Ancient Book at Enhanced 5, or level 6, whatever you want to call it. So before I get into our actual best teams and our team compositions, let's go over her actual kit so you can get an understanding of why you want to run over these certain teams. So starting off with Fana's skill 1, which is going to be called Playful Salamander. This is going to be a single target skill 1 with damage ratios of 90% on both her attack and magic attack, and this skill will then have an 80% chance of inflicting a continuous burn damage on an enemy for 2 turns. And her skill 2 is going to be called Salamander's Whim. This is going to be her first AoE skill that she she has, and this can have damage ratios of 70% of her attack and magic attack on a 3-turn cooldown. And this basically says if an enemy is taking continuous burn damage, she will then attack after granting her 50% lifesteal, which then again will incorporate why burning is actually really important for her, and then makes it some relatively decent synergy with her Playful Salamander. Then we have her special skill, which is going to be called Salamander's Breath. This is going to be where all of your damage comes from, as this is going to be an AoE special skill with damage ratios of 80%. And the reason why I've mentioned a lot of things to do with all attack buffs is that this ultimate Salamander's Breath is going to grant herself an increased all attack level 2 buff, which is going to be a 40% increase in her attack and magic attack, which then again in turn means she can actually benefit off of regular attack as well as magic attack. And then her unique passive is going to be what makes her life stealing so important, as she will then grant herself a 15% increased damage dealt when her HP is equal to 100% or higher. And then her enhanced passive is going to be a favored damage dealt increase of 7%. So just like the rest of the Eye of the Midnight Sun members, she also has a united attack, but with also veto, as her half of the united attack is going to be basically damage ratios of 80% and 80% with a cooldown of 15 turns, and then this will then obviously inflict burn on an enemy dealing continuous damage for 2 turns. Then Veto's side of it is going to be also single target because it's a united attack, so the targeting will be the same. And then basically what this is going to do is going to have damage ratios of 60% of both attack and magic attack with a 15-turn cooldown as well, of course. And then he will then also grant himself an increased damage dealt buff in proportion to his current HP up to a maximum of 50% HP. So now you've seen how she works, I guess it's time to go into all of her team compositions. So obviously we're going to be running Fana, and she's going to be our main DPS of the whole team. So with her unique passive being all about her keeping 100% of her HP, we're going to probably want to be able to mitigate that and keep that 15% damage buff as much as we possibly can, which is why Rada Spirito is going to probably be her best bet in terms of keeping that buff up as much as she possibly can, as number 1 Carl is going to give him a massive barrier for not only him but also his whole team as well. It's going to be really good, as well as giving them status element immunity. So then also, because Fana is also going to be relatively limited, we're going to want to make her be able to act as much as possible as well, whilst also kind of keeping her damage up, which is why the next character for this team is going to be Valtos, as Valtos' ultimate Myriad Black is a fantastic ultimate, as it's going to give all allies a 20% increased mobility buff, and this is going to basically increase all of your characters' positioning on the speed gauge, which is going to be really important. So we've got our damage dealer in Fana, we've got our sort of sustain shielder in Rades, whilst also giving us debuff immunities and stuff like that, or status element immunities, and then obviously we've got Valtos to keep all of our damage up and our mobility up. So I guess we could pretty much throw in anything else that we want there from that point. So characters I recommend are going to be, of course, characters like Lotus, as Lotus is also going to be fantastic at reducing your enemies' speed and mobility, stuff like that, whilst also making them take more damage and also removing buffs as well. If you want actually some more burns as well, Leopold actually won't be like an awful sort of character to put in, as he has a 70% chance of inflicting continuous burn damage on an enemy for 2 turns. So next up we have the skill level priorities, so which are going to be the skills that you're going to want to level up for her the most. So starting off, obviously Salamander's Breath is going to be the one that you're going to want to level up the most. Then it's going to be Salamander's Whim, I guess, kind of also a no-brainer. She's an AoE damage dealer, so you're going to want to level up her AoE skills. And then I'd probably say Playful Salamander is next, as pretty much this skill's only job is going to be just to burn enemies, although it can only burn 1 enemy, which is kind of annoying. I kind of wish this was an AoE skill as well, but I don't know, it is what it is. And then it's going to be her combined or united attack. If you are using it, it's up to you if you want to use it or not, but yeah, I wouldn't really recommend using it, so I'd probably put this last. So there you have it. That is my guide for Fana and her whole kit, her best teams, gears, stats, etc. So if you like this video, then make sure you drop a like and subscribe, and if it helps you, leave a comment down below saying whether it did or not. And without further ado, I will see you in the next video. Peace!